There's a specific kind of exhaustion that only comes from trying to be liked. You leave the party smiling on the outside and hollow on the inside. You replay every joke you told, every laugh that came a beat too late. You wonder why the harder you tried, the further away everyone seemed to drift. If that feeling lives somewhere in your chest right now, stay with me. Because the problem was never you. The problem was the strategy nobody warned you about. Trying hard to be liked is the fastest way to become forgettable. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly what to do instead. You'll also learn the one quiet shift that changes the entire room around you. Here's the simple truth we're going to unpack together. People don't fall in love with effort, they fall in love with ease. Let's talk about what that actually means for you. Think about the last time you met someone who tried too hard around you. They laughed a little too loud at things that weren't quite funny. They agreed with everything you said before you finished saying it. They complimented your shoes, your job, your energy, your coffee order. And somewhere inside you, a tiny door quietly closed. You didn't dislike them exactly, you just stopped trusting them. That's the paradox nobody explains to you as a kid. The more visibly we chase approval, the less approval we actually receive. Because chasing signals something specific to the human brain. It signals that you don't believe you're already enough on your own. And people, without even meaning to, mirror that belief right back at you. Here's the simple shift that changes everything. Charisma isn't performance, it's permission. Permission to be a whole person, not a highlight reel. When you stop auditioning for people, they finally get to meet you. And meeting you is the thing they were actually looking for the whole time. Let me show you what this looks like in a real conversation. Picture two people at the same small work gathering on a Thursday night. The first one is scanning the room like it's a test they have to pass. They laugh a half-second early at every joke just in case it lands. They compliment 3 strangers within the first 5 minutes of walking in. They keep asking, "Am I being interesting? Am I being fun right now?" The second one walks in, orders a drink, and just breathes. They listen to one person for a full 30 seconds before speaking. They ask a real question, then a follow-up, then they actually react. They don't fill every silence, they let a few of them just sit. By the end of the night, guess which one everyone quietly remembers? It's the second one, every single time without fail. Not because they were louder or funnier or more polished, but because they were the only person in the room who wasn't performing. And here's what almost no one tells you about that. The second person isn't more confident by nature. They just stop trying to control the outcome of every interaction. That single shift is worth more than 100 communication hacks. So let's break down why trying too hard backfires so badly in the first place. There are 4 quiet mechanisms working against you, and they're worth naming. The first is what I'll call the pressure signal. When you want something too much from a conversation, people can feel it. It shows up in your eyes, your pace, the tightness around your shoulders. Humans are wired to sense pressure the way animals sense weather changing. And when we sense pressure, our instinct is always to step back a little. Not out of cruelty, out of self-protection. So the harder you push for a connection, the more it slips through your fingers. Loosen the grip, and suddenly the connection has room to actually breathe. The second mechanism is the reciprocity trap. When you overgive too many compliments, too much agreement, too much laughter, you create a debt. People feel that debt in their bodies before they feel it in their minds. An unpaid emotional debt makes people avoid you, not adore you. Real connection is a slow, even exchange, not a fire hose of flattery. Give warmly, receive warmly, and let the balance settle on its own. The third mechanism is what psychologists sometimes call the incongruence gap. Your words say one thing while your energy says another underneath. Your mouth says, "I'm so glad we met," but your eyes are already scanning for the next person. Human brains are tuned to notice that gap in about half a second. And when they notice it, they don't call you out, they just cool off. You'll never know why the conversation faded, but that gap is usually why. The fix isn't more polish, it's less pretending in the first place. Say less, but mean all of it, and the room will feel the difference. If any of this is landing in your chest right now, you're not alone. I want you to know that noticing this pattern is already the hard part done. Most people go their whole lives without ever seeing it clearly. The fourth mechanism is the most subtle and honestly the most freeing. I call it the identity leak. When you try hard to be liked, you slowly stop knowing who you are. You become a slightly different person for each group you walk into. Funnier here, quieter there, edgier over there, softer with them. For a while, it feels like a skill, like social flexibility. But eventually, you start feeling like a stranger in your own life. You look around and think, I don't even know which version is really me. That's the hidden cost of chasing approval, and it's a heavy one. The truth is, people aren't drawn to the most agreeable person in the room. They're drawn to the most rooted one. The one who knows what they think, feel, and value, and doesn't hide it. That kind of person is rare, and rare is magnetic by nature. So how do you actually become that person without turning cold or aloof? Because that's the fear, right? If I stop trying so hard, won't I just seem distant or arrogant? I promise you, that's not what happens, and here's why. Warmth doesn't disappear when you stop performing. It actually gets stronger because now people can feel it clearly. Here's the first practical shift you can try in your very next conversation. Slow your response time by just one beat. When someone finishes speaking, take a breath before you reply. Not a dramatic pause, just one honest, unhurried second. That single second tells the other person, I heard you and I'm thinking. It's one of the most attractive signals a human can send. Most people rush to respond because silence feels dangerous to them. But silence isn't a threat. It's a gift you give the person in front of you. Try it once today and watch how the whole conversation shifts under your feet. Here's the second shift, and it might be the most powerful one on this list. Stop trying to be interesting and start being interested. That sentence sounds like a slogan, so let me make it real. Being interested means asking one question, then genuinely following it. Not a scripted follow-up, a real one, sparked by what they actually said. You mentioned that job was rough. What was the hardest part for you? You lit up when you talked about your brother. Are you too close? Those questions cost you nothing, and they open entire universes in return. The person across from you feels seen, maybe for the first time all week. And feeling seen is the single most magnetic experience a human can have. You didn't need to be witty, clever, or impressive to give them that. You just needed to actually pay attention. Here's the third shift, and it takes a little more courage than the others. Be willing to have an opinion. A soft opinion, a warm opinion, but a real one, not a rented one. When someone asks what movie you liked, don't just say, oh, they're all good. Say, I actually loved the second one, it wrecked me in a really good way. That tiny piece of realness is what people mean when they say someone has presence. Presence isn't loudness, it's the willingness to occupy your own point of view. You don't have to argue, dominate, or defend it. You just have to own it gently, without apologizing for taking up space. That's when people start leaning in instead of drifting away. And here's the shift almost no one uses, even though it changes everything. Let people not like you. I know, that sounds counterintuitive on a channel about being liked. But hear me out, because this is where the real transformation lives. The moment you internally accept that not everyone will like you, you relax. And when you relax, your face softens, your voice steadies, your eyes warm up. Suddenly, the people who are your people can actually find you, because you're no longer disguised as everyone else. The fear of being disliked is what makes us bland. The acceptance of being disliked is what makes us magnetic. Say that one out loud to yourself later tonight. It deserves a second listen. Now, if you felt this pull toward approval for a long time, I want you to know something. You're not weak, broken, or too much, or not enough. You just learned somewhere along the way that love had to be earned in a hurry. Maybe at school, maybe at home, maybe in a friendship that stung. Wherever it started, it made sense at the time. That's how you survived. but you're not there anymore, and you don't have to keep paying that toll. If any of this is landing for you, tell me your story in the comments below. I read them, and honestly, they changed the way I write these videos. You're not alone in this, even when your brain tries to convince you otherwise. Let's talk about one more thing before we wrap this up. There's a difference between wanting connection and needing approval. They can look identical from the outside, but they feel completely different inside. Wanting connection is open. It says, "I'd love to know you." Needing approval is closed. It says, "Please tell me I'm okay." One invites people in, and the other quietly pushes them away. The good news is, you can move from one to the other on purpose. It starts with a tiny question you ask yourself before every social moment. What would I do right now if I didn't need them to like me? Sit with that question for a second before your next conversation. You'll be shocked by how much more like yourself you sound almost immediately. You'll make eye contact a beat longer, laugh a beat more honestly, speak a beat slower. And that version of you is the one people have been waiting to meet. Here's the deeper truth underneath all of this. Being liked is not something you achieve, it's something you allow. You allow it by showing up as yourself and letting the right people notice. You don't chase them down or convince them or perform for them. You just stay open, stay warm, stay honest, and stay rooted. And slowly, without any strain, the right people start gathering around you. Not a crowd, but the right ones, which is what you actually wanted anyway. So here's your gentle homework before you close this video. Pick one conversation this week where you usually try a little too hard. Maybe it's with a coworker, a family member, or a new friend group. Walk in and try one thing. Don't try to be liked at all. Just listen well, speak honestly, and let the silences be okay. Notice what happens in your body during that conversation. Notice what happens in theirs. You'll feel a small shift, and that shift is the whole doorway. Walk through it a few times, and everything about your social life starts to change. Not overnight, but steadily, in the way real change actually happens. If this resonated with you, do me a small favor before you go. Hit subscribe so we can keep having these conversations together each week. Like this video if even one sentence made you exhale a little deeper. And leave a comment telling me the shift you're going to try first. I read them all, and I'm rooting for you more than you know. Remember, you were never meant to earn your way into people's hearts. You were meant to walk in as yourself and let the right ones stay. That's the real charisma nobody teaches, and it's already inside you. I'll see you in the next one.